Hey there guys, girls and everyone in between, and welcome back to Nimby Rails. Today with a little bit of a different video. I want to invite you to follow me and take the first steps into the 1.15 beta version of the game. Before we start, one short disclaimer. If you don't trust beta builds, just don't use them. Stick to 1.14 if you don't want to risk your game. I use betas a lot if I believe that the new features aren't too big. With 1.14 for example, I waited for the official release and never touched the beta versions. With 1.15 I will play the beta version from day one on. I personally don't believe that this beta is a big risk, but I will keep my current save game of my Let's Play as 1.14 backup somewhere, just to make sure that I don't lose too much progress if something goes downhill with this version of the game. It is the 2nd of December today, where I booted up the game for the first time in 1.15. 1.15.1 to be exact. For those who are new to the game, or who never played in the beta versions of Nimby Rails, the beta is up and being worked on and upgraded a lot. In the beta version of 1.14 for example, we got all the way to 1.14.22 before it was stable enough to be a default version of the game. In the end, 1.14 made it all the way to 1.14.26 before everything calmed down and work started on 1.15. When I already talk about 1.14, what changed with it? 1.14 was focused on scheduling, a huge update for everyone. I see why the new update is in place, but I am so used to the old scheduling system that I don't see it as an upgrade, just a change, a replacement. So scheduling got upgraded, and what do you mainly work with when scheduling? Trains and stations. 1.15 focuses on the second one, on stations. So what will change with 1.15? So this is the current view on the 2nd of December, but stations are different now. Pre 1.15, stations had footprints. If the footprints were too far away from each other, you had two separate stations. You could use the footprint extension tool to just connect them with each other to make one station. Now with the new update, track segments can be directly assigned to stations. Is this good or bad? Well, I would consider this a good change. Of course, we will have to rework a lot of stations to get them to 1.15 standards. But now it is easier to have depots right next to stations without the depots and stations merging into one single big station. Better for the overview and also better for scheduling or when you set everything up. Stations can also be placed now without having tricks. And this feature makes planning a lot faster, I believe. At least I hope so. But we will see how this affects the gameplay once we reach Lithuania in the Let's Play series. But I think you can just drop down stations without the tracks, where you have tram stops or stations, and then when you reach the areas you know that there's a station and you can just integrate it into your build. I think it makes it a little bit faster, but as I said, we will see once we see it in action in Lithuania. Station editor is also now there. I think just a super cool tool in my opinion to work on the stations. They are now displayed like lines and schedules in the top left of the UI section. This also allows to see how many stations you have in a given region, which I think is just super cool, because now you don't have to count how many stations you have in a city or in a region or in a country. You can just look into the station editor now. For now, these are the two main things, the big things, so to speak. Underneath it, there's a lot of small changes which will make the game better. When reading the announcement, these two things sticked out to me for being the biggest news. So when we are already in Tallinn, let's check out the stations in Tallinn itself. Let's go to Tallinn Balti-Tram, the main station of Tallinn, and when I just click the station, it already looks interesting. You now have the button to directly jump to the Stations tab to see the station in the editor, which is interesting that you can put the capacity to 100,000 passengers. You can now also give tags to stations, which is interesting. I already see people to tag all their main stations as main stations to then just open them all parallel to each other and to see which main station is the best performing. So yes, I already think this is a good feature. And also the walk transfer, beautifully done. You can make everything inside the big circle a walk link, which is good for passenger flow, and everything inside the set 800 meters is just always a walking link, which looks great so far. Also changing text inside it and also changing labels inside it, beautiful. I'm still a bit confused with the footprint expansion. Maybe I did read it wrong and we still have all the footprints of the stations. I mean, probably good this way, that the tracks still connect with each other. But all in all, the first look to the station, it's good. It's good. I'm happy with what I'm seeing here. Just a bit confused on how I create a second station here. Maybe that's a bug that's getting fixed, or if it's not a bug, then I'm confused. Because normally I think you should not be able to just duplicate a station. Because yeah, when I go to the tracks here and I click on them, I can't just tell them which station to be. Maybe it only works on new stations that are not from older game versions, but I will check that later, of course. And I just deleted the entire station. I already know what will be my very first message, my very first feedback about this. I just deleted the station. Oh, let's just load up the last autosave and hope the station is still there. How can I be this stupid? After the autosave, of course, the station is there, and oh my god, the delete station button is so close to everything else. I think this will be my very first feedback, because that's the first negative point about the new update, about the new beta version, that you can just delete your station accidentally. One of the best things about the developers of Nimby Rails is that most jumps from version to version are seamless. So from 1.14 to 1.15, even though the stations got reworked, all the stations function and work properly. I will probably have to sit down a little bit and check everything to see if everything is alright, everything still works fine, but that's just perfection. In the past there have been game versions, I think even 1.14 was one version where when you left 1.13 to go to 1.14, you had to either start a new save, at least that's what I did, and the other option is to just say delete your entire lines, everything, and just rework the entire schedules. So that's just great about this update. You don't have to restart, you don't have to do a lot of work to get everything working, and I am happy that once I do the tutorials soon, that we have a new station system to work with, and I will incorporate that in those, and I can't wait to finally build bigger stations with big depots that just work way better than in 1.14. So when we already talk about stations, how is it currently in the network that I use for the Let's Play? If I go to stations, I currently have the day set to Tuesday, October 8th. So October 9th is currently the in-game time, so that was the day before. And you can see that Pärnu with $606,000 of fares, which is great. It's the city in the center of the high-speed line between Riga and Tallinn, and that's good due to the pathfinding of the game. So you can see Riga and Pärnu are the biggest stations. That's because everything from Tallinn, but also everything from the left side of the coast of Estonia, and a lot from Narva and the central regions, they will go via Pärnu, where the station gets the fares from, and then go down to Riga, and the other way is everything in Latvia. Who wants to go to the region I just named, so left side of Estonia, Tallinn, Narva, and a bit of the central part, they will also all go from Riga Central to Pärnu and then switch there. So Pärnu currently is the station with the biggest fares in the entire network, which is just great. The new update won't change anything about that. I just wanted to talk about it, that the update is more for the bigger stations and for the more complicated stations, but sometimes in Nimby Rails, when I zoom in here, you can see Pärnu. It is a super simple station, there's nothing complicated about it, and it's the biggest moneymaker for the entire network. Of course, when I zoom out again and we go to lines, then you can see that it's a very different picture. It is the trains from Tallinn to Riga and from Riga to Tallinn, so the two intercity lines that make the most money in the game. And after that, Riga Daugavpils and Tallinn Narva, which are the longest routes, more or less, that then leave the capital cities. In Nimby Rails, the distance matters, because the longer the line, the more they have to pay when you set up a price per kilometer, and that's how I do all my lines, with $0.5 per kilometer, which is expensive for real life. For the passengers in Nimby Rails, that's just normal. So one tip from me, set your lines to one base and one per kilometer if you really want to make money, and if you want to be a little bit more realistic, maybe set it to 0 base and 0.5 per kilometer, because you still make a lot of money. I hope that one day you will make your way into 1.15, because with this game version the game will get even better than before. So I really hope that you enjoy playing Nimby Rails, I hope that you enjoy my videos, and we will see each other again soon. Bye bye.